Welcome to Adam Answers, where you submit questions and I take time to answer them. So keep your questions coming. The questions have been really, really great. This time I want to attend to a question from Jane Pendry. And this question was submitted through a YouTube comment to one of the videos. And Jane asks, how would you approach a client who had been abandoned and had significant attachment issues? If they felt fundamentally unsafe, unloved, and hopeless, how would you begin to develop SF questions? So Jane, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for submitting this question. And I'm going to kind of take that question in chunks. And the first part of that question is, how do you do solution-focused brief therapy with somebody who has attachment issues? I want to make sure I use the right word. Yeah, attachment issues is the word you used. And so the first thing I would say is, in some sense, that's probably most of the people that we encounter who are coming for psychotherapy. And so for that reason, I would say we would do very much what we would typically do, because most people could probably be described as having avoidant attachment or insecure attachment or anxious attachment or some kind of attachment. And one of the ways that I would describe that is people go through life and we experience hurt and we experience trauma. And one of the ways that we have learned to describe the impact of that is what it does to the way that we connect with other people. And so I would say most of the people probably have implications to how they interact with others. And in some sense, I would say that's probably a sense of trying to protect myself, trying to keep myself safe, trying to help myself not get hurt again, right? So we would very regularly interact with people in a psychotherapy setting where that might be the case for them. So in some sense, I would say we can set it aside and say we don't need to make that a special consideration, because it's probably a consideration that many of the clients that we're dealing with have. And therefore, we know that solution-focused brief therapy works. And therefore, by extension, it must work with people who have experienced some kind of attachment disruption. So that's one thing that I would say. The next thing that I would say is, and you're exactly right. Again, I want to go back to your words. You used the words like, this might make them feel fundamentally unsafe, unloved, and hopeless. So what do we do for people who are feeling these legitimate things? One of the things I would say is, we begin, just like we always begin, by asking, what are your best hopes, right? And if they're feeling hopeless, that might be a difficult question to answer. But we stay there. We don't move on until we get even a glimpse of what it is that they're hoping for. One of the things that I would reorient your attention to is the fact that they're sitting in your office means that they must be hoping that something will change, or else they wouldn't have come. If they weren't hoping for something to be different, then they would have just said, okay, this is the way life is, and I just have to deal with it. The fact that they show up wanting to have a conversation with you is evidence that indeed they want something to be different. Therefore, there is hope present, right? So that then gets us to, what if they feel, despite this hope, what if they feel unloved? What if they feel unsafe? Right? One of the things that I would say is that, as in most solution-focused conversations, it's our job to help them shift their perspective from thinking about and feeling the absence of something, the absence of hope, the absence of safety, the absence of love. And we want to start helping them to describe the presence of something. One easy way that we make that shift is we say to them, okay, if you weren't feeling these things anymore, what would you like to be feeling instead? What would be the signs to you that would let you know that maybe safety is increasing just a little bit? What would let you know that that love was a feeling that you could allow into your life, right? And so we want to nuance these questions with a real understanding that the reason that they lack these things currently is because of their life experiences. And we can build those life experiences into our questions as well. And we can say things like, given the lack of love that you've been receiving, if you were preparing yourself and if you were showing people that you were open for appropriate love, and if you were letting people know that you were willing to welcome love that was safe, what would be a sign to you that would let you know it was now time for you to open yourself up in this way, right? So again, we can acknowledge the pain and the hurt and the lack of these things in our questions. And we can say, if those things stopped being the reality or stopped having so much of an influence on you, what would be the signs that would let you know you're moving in the direction you are hoping to move in? So I think that's one of the things that I would say is that we really need to nuance our questions in a way that help our clients to understand, I understand how hard things are, and I understand you're hoping for a difference. What would let you know that difference has occurred? And then the last part of what you said, so how would you begin and develop solution-focused questions? I would say we begin in the same way we always begin. So given everything that's been going on, what are your best hopes now, right? And then we listen really, really closely for evidence of greatness. We listen for evidence that love is still a possibility. We listen for evidence that the safety mechanisms that they've put into place that we sometimes call attachment issues, that those coping skills maybe aren't needed anymore. What would let you know that you can use different coping skills, or you could open yourself up in a different kind of way? And so we listen and we help them co-construct what they would rather have be going on instead of what we classify as attachment issues. So Jane, thank you so much for that question. I hope that was a nuanced answer. I would love to hear what your thoughts are about it and if I've answered your question well enough. And for those of you who are listening, if this triggers other questions for you, other things that you would like me to attend to, please comment here or send an email, let me know. And then again, I'll keep these videos coming. But I really, really appreciate your feedback, your engagement. It really means a lot to me. So thank you for sending great questions.